everyone. Welcome to The Zest, the official podcast of Orange Coast Magazine. I'm Chelsea Ranieri, and today's guest is a published author and Harvard certified in psychedelic assisted therapies. She's built a thriving modern spiritual brand offering transformative courses, channeling sessions, and more, and has partnered with major names like Aloe, Revolve, and Lululemon. Thank you so much for being here today, Jessica Stone.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Great.
So to give our listeners a quick background, I got to meet you at two different events, and that the first one, I pulled a tarot card, and I forget exactly which one it was, but it was like you were speaking directly like to what I was going through at that time. And then at the second event, you did a sound bath, which was the first time I've ever gotten to experience that. And it was quite possibly the most relaxed I've ever felt. It was just so incredibly amazing. I totally understand why people love it. So I've been very excited to get to talk with you.
I've been excited too. I like that we had this on the book. So I was like, okay, I can't wait to drop it.
I know. Me too. Well, let's start at the beginning. So what was your childhood like? And were there any early signs that you were tuned into something deeper, either energetically or spiritually?
Yeah. I think the best way to describe it is I remember before coming here, I know that sounds silly, but it's just one of those things that I think we all have basically purpose or a zone of genius. And from a very young age, it was very clear to me whatever that invisible thread that kind of pulls us along in life, what mine was. And it was in spirituality. It was in, I guess, like really understanding and like the theory of all things outside of like the visual eye. So it has been obviously like a lifelong passion, yet a career-wise, very much like later in life. I definitely wasn't some child prodigy of like medium, but very much a part of my existence. And I grew up in Texas, which, God and football is everything. And so spirituality wasn't weird per se. So it was one of those things that I felt very relaxed in it, had a very, I guess like very positive experience always with these extra kind of things I could do. So it just, I never thought I'd do it as a profession. I'm a very well-rounded person, and I didn't know you could be a multi-dimensional person and kind of work. I always assumed it was like pigeonholed of like, not to generalize, but like hippie or granola. Yeah.
Right. So what brought you out to Orange County?
When I was, my upbringing, I definitely am like a product of the government, like government that success story. The socioeconomics that I grew up in, was very, again, like small town, just poor kids growing up. And that, it just is one of those things that, the only thing I can equate it to is, again, is it our destiny or is it, choice? But just, I've always followed that invisible thread pulling me along in life. And it took me to California. So when I was 17, I drove out here, had to get a fake ID to get a phone, didn't know you could do that. So just kind of hustled my butt off for so many years in the clothing industry. Again, like always, this practice was a personal one. And later in life, it became very clear that it was supposed to be what I do and I could talk about it openly. And here I am now talking to you.
Yeah. Well, actually, so I saw on your website, you said that your soul was calling you toward energy work. So what did that moment of clarity kind of look or feel like for you?
And I think every single person has this ability. We are all intuitive creatures. We all exist, and I'll get a little weird.
I love it.
Exist beyond our physical form. We have a life so beyond this moment, and it is just fact for me. I do not question it. I do not, even us sitting here, our computers, we are on, our microphones, somebody in a space beyond the physical realm thought, I want to make a microphone. It's energy before it is tangible. So it is fact that there is nothing that exists on this planet without the, if you want to call it imagination, energy manifestation. So how is that not true? So it's just this place that, again, I just do not see life any other way. And again, how all of us are intuitive, like you cannot not be intuitive. I have dedicated, it's kind of like the natural basketball player. You see the kids like when they're young and you're like, oh, that kid going to be good, but there's a kid who practices harder. Like I am so professional and I practice and I dedicate my life to this practice. So I think I would say I have an edge up in energy work. And that's the part where my Capricorn self is like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this so deeply. And, yeah, so just really kind of dedicating more the earth side practice of it, of like there are ways to actually read energy coding. It's all subtle, but yeah, it's a language anybody can learn, but it is learning
Yeah.
language.
Right. That's so funny you said the Capricorn thing. I have two good friends that are Capricorns and they're both the exact same way. I love
What are
that.
you?
I'm a Taurus and very
I
much a
love
Taurus.
Taurus.
Yeah.
Taurus and Capricorn, earth sides.
Yes.
Very cool.
Well, you have this beautiful belief, and I think this kind of ties back into the invisible string that our future versions of ourselves leave signs for us to follow. So can you kind of explain what that means and how we might start to notice those signs?
Yeah. And we can geek out on this. And I think anytime we start thinking, it's like our brain's like, I cannot comprehend. But, theoretically, time does not exist. We all know that. Yeah, it's hard to comprehend, right?
Yeah.
Because we just process linear. So theoretically, every version of you already exists. Already, just like every person. And so when you go into that, it's kind of like all things are happening at once. And that is like probably the biggest thing in my practice is it doesn't matter where you're going, because now here's the other interesting part is infinite versions of you exist. But what is the most pure or joyful or funny, whatever, what is your most genuine self, whatever in this moment is, you pull towards those. So whoever we are, whoever we identify with, that version it's one string that we're just moving back and forth on, playing telephone with. And so if you start to listen to your gut or your intuition, whatever you want to call it, you take the time to meditate, take the time to like do some tarot or anything that like drops you in internally. Life is pretty simple. Life is painful and complex and horrifying and joyful at the same time, but it is simple once you understand the mathematical equation of what is actually taking place here.
Yeah. What are some signs people can kind of keep an eye out for? Just examples that you've experienced.
I always say like the universe is a mathematical equation. So numbers, patterns work really well. So anything like repetitive numbers are incredible.
I love that.
Yes. Or you start seeing the person over and over, like in your algorithm of life. And you're like, what is this meaning? Am I in a pattern? Do I need to switch up my rhythm because I'm not feeling good? I'm seeing the same person at the grocery store or when I go to Europe on vacation. Like, how is that possible? And then nature is, we have our ego and our human form. Nature, like whether it's plants and animals, they work with the universe, I guess, more just purely. So often like animals or butterflies or just spirit that is not so, egotistical. And the thing, humans are such a sign too, except I think, we get caught up in the minutia of life and want to overthink it. But every single thing is a sign showing you who you are. If you don't like what it is, change it and get some new signs. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Wait, I have like two great examples of what you just like said. When my grandma passed, she has three daughters, my mom and her two sisters, and they all had just random experiences with ladybugs landing on them all of a sudden. And when we all went on this family trip that we hadn't done in like, since I was a kid, my mom and her sisters went on a walk and ladybugs swarmed them. And they were like, that's so weird. And then when I moved into the condo that my aunt owns and my mom lived in it previously, a ladybug was like on my ceiling randomly. And I was like, what the heck? So I got that tattooed. And then the other thing that was interesting, the repeating person thing, I saw my husband in one of my friend's neighborhoods when he first moved here. And I was like, hot.
Yeah.
And then I went to school and he just happened to be going to my same school. And I didn't see him for like, I don't know, a month. And then he transferred into my photography class. I was like, that's that kid that I saw like in the summertime. And now, and we've been together ever since. So those two things I totally believe in those.
Yeah.
And right now it's 111.
So yes. And that is how it works, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, that was like perfect.
And like love is such a good one because everybody wants love. Everybody wants something fun version of love, right? And so it's one of those things of even how you're talking about, oh, I saw my partner, there, and how really it is like aligning further and further into our path. And it's like, imagine things like orbiting. We
Mhm.
are all like an ecosystem, or all astrology or astronomy, however you want to describe it. And so when we get into our truest nature, when Earth sits perfectly in its place from the sun and all the other little things, it grows life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So like in love, as far as that, if you're like, I want to call in love, it's one of those things of like, how can I go deeper and deeper into myself, into self-love, into my path? Because what is meant for you will just crash into you.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that so much. Well,
Yeah.
you've built an incredibly successful business with clients that include Hollywood's A-list and the brands that I mentioned in the intro. So what first inspired you to start Jessica Stone Co?
So my background was in clothing, probably a
Mhm.
younger passion of mine, being a 40-year-old, I don't know if like
Oh
clothes.
no, I've seen how you dress. You dress so freaking cute.
I take hand-me-downs from anybody. I like just like I don't like I definitely have that out of my system. But in my 20s, I just love the clothing industry. I love that whole world. And I took the same model when I kind of realized this was happening, of how to build a brand, and was like, I guess I'm going to apply it to this version of me,
Yeah.
because I guess didn't know how else to think. It's kind of like, okay, obviously like someone being, I mean, I guess people call me a psychic or a guru, whatever you want to,
Yeah.
you can have your little shop on the boulevard, or you can be like the celebrity one, or you can be, this, that. And I was like, well, what is me? And I'm like, oh, I love building brands. Like that was the joy I had in the clothing industry over the clothes. So I just built it more like a brand of like, ooh, collaboration, fun things, like constantly. I have a bit like, I love to have my hands in different things. So
Mhm.
it helps in my business, like kind of fill my heart up when I am doing like events and then private sessions. That's like my like purpose on this earth. And then like
Oh.
silly Instagram things. And then like ghost clearings for like a large company, so it's just like, I need variety. And so I've found a way to satiate things that could, I guess, be like a lot of us are like, oh, we have ADD. And I'm like,
Mhm.
to satiate that skill set of mine instead of let it like get the best of me. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of your business, you have core pillars in in your course: cosmic blueprint, meeting your guidelines, and discovering your purpose and integration. So, what does each phase unlock, and can you kind of walk us through what each one's means?
Yeah. What's the first one you mentioned?
The cosmic blueprint.
Okay, cool. 'Cause I'm like, oh, my course. I'm like, I don't know what's on. Uh, okay, no. So that is basically like going into, we all have an individual design.
Mhm.
And I cannot tell you how much easier life gets when you start to understand yours. Does that make sense? It's like
Yeah.
we are taught in school, and I'm a huge fan of, my kids go to public school. Like I'm a huge fan of school.
Mhm.
But we are taught to subconsciously learn from our parents, from
Mhm.
schooling, from sports, to externally have approval, and we get rewards like a little puppy going,
Yep.
ooh, I am good when I bend for this. I think that's very important, but also simultaneously, we have this saying that we have an individual path, and we are all so talented when we find that. And when
Mhm.
you get into that stream of consciousness, it's the zone where it's just, athletes talk about it, like musicians, where it's just like, you can just see it when someone's in their zone. And
Mhm.
so in that place is just basically going into how to tap into that. So life can, again, be a bit more peaceful and simple, instead of burning the energy, because we only have so much energy on us, burning the energy
Yeah.
of trying to fit into something we're not, which in my theories, it causes like misalignment in the body, illness, like dis
Yeah.
discomfort, so yeah, that's the first section. What's the next section?
Um, the next one is meeting your guidelines. Meeting your guides.
Meeting your guides. Oh yeah. Okay. And then so beyond that, we obviously, like, I'm sitting here talking to you. There's like, you're inspiring me right now. I'm like, oh, she's doing her
Oh, I love
podcast.
that.
She's so eloquently spoken. And maybe I'm saying like something that's lighting you up, right? So we have
Mhm.
all sorts of people Earthside that are inspiring us, helping us, supporting us. That does not stop Earthside. And actually, it's way more, I guess, like higher power, if you want to call it, because
Yeah.
it's from the energetic realm. It's a lot more pliable, because on Earth we have gravity and it's like dense and like human body. And so when you work with we all have a team, we all have guides, we all have ancestors, we all have versions of us in the future. We have, God, we have, however you look at that, we have, and angels, we have everything. And so and I think a lot of people suffer from, I'll do it my own, I don't want to ask for help. And we do it on
Mhm.
Earth. So it's usually the same people that like have a problem, like being like, hey, I should ask my angels for some help today, or my guides for some help.
Yeah.
Why not? But it's then we have struggles like receiving. So like quick tip on like anybody who's like, oh, I want to talk to my guides and stuff.
Yeah.
Really focus on, because we have our chakra system, opening your back heart, which is like just, close your eyes for a second and imagine between the shoulder blades, just that space opening up to receive. Because like we give from our front heart. And when you
Mhm.
open that back space is really when you allow it to flow through you into just basically that like flow state.
Yeah. I love that. And then the last one, oh, sorry, the next one's discovering your purpose.
Okay, so in that is basically like, okay, I understand my blueprint. I understand kind of my vibe. And then, okay, I have my guides to work with. And then going into purpose is just basically trial and error, like learning to become an expert at failing, learning to become like taking chances, having permission to figure it out and be like, I don't know. I don't know anything. Does that make sense? Is
Yeah.
really going into the human experience, which is so dynamic and long, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, just going into that. And then I think the last one's integration, which is
Mhm.
all the practices, meditation, like tarot, taking an energetic cleanse, feng shui in the house. So like all the things of just like how to integrate it into your life. So it's like habitual.
Mhm. Yeah. I see. Okay. I love this stuff so much, but have you ever had a client come to you who really wants to do it, but they're skeptical or maybe like get stuck in some of the phases?
A skeptical is an interesting one. And I get asked that often, like, oh, are people skeptics? And I eliminated that a while ago by,
Mm.
to do a session with me is very expensive. That way,
Yeah.
you have to know you are having an energy exchange. You're already saying yes by saying
Mhm.
this is worth it. So I have not experienced a skeptic in so long.
Good. Yeah.
Like, no, like you show up for this, I'm showing up for this. And so it arrives. um People do have struggles, though. We all have struggles. Of Here's the thing, is like I sit here and I get stuck in my own patterns. I get stuck in
Mhm.
and that's where, going into purpose, being like, wait, I know though this is what I desire. So I'm going to pick myself up and go a little further. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to shame myself. I'm not going to let external places shame me. And I'm going to keep going, because that's the thing, is like, whether it's your first life, 50th life, you might be in the same patterns. And that's why past life regressions are so cool, because you're like, oh man, I've been up to the same BS for like 10 lives.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to
Oh my
nip
God, that
in
sounds
the butt.
so
Like, people please
cool.
me. Like, geez, like I was, like a peasant over there, people pleasing.
Yeah.
I need to like pull it together. So yeah, it takes a while to master something. But choosing full bodied, I'm going
Mhm.
to spend my life mastering self. Uh, and that's where that kind of just absolute certainty inside self gets going. You're like, then it doesn't matter how long it takes, what it looks like, who has anything to say. This is just following that invisible energy that pulls us all along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of like patterns that you keep going into and things like that, definitely people pleasing for me, but you actually help people heal trauma, set boundaries, and stop people pleasing, which I'm actually working in all three. But why do these patterns show up so often, and how does your work help shift them?
I think I'll say in a macro answer of, and I say this speaking to someone else who, no matter what our struggles are, we are living a very privileged life compared to a
Hmm.
lot of the world.
Hmm.
We're in a position to where probably our basic needs are being met, and so what happens at that point when we're not surviving? Evolution. Expansion, and especially with technology, the way things are moving so quickly, we have the ability to expand ourselves further.
Hmm.
So I don't even know where I was going with this, but what was the question?
Well, you help people heal trauma and set
Oh,
boundaries and stop
well,
people
I
pleasing.
do read. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So because it's new lessons, because 200 years
Mm.
ago, we were just trying to get food on our table and keep our teeth in our mouth.
Right.
Does that make sense? So they're newer lessons. So the subconscious doesn't have them fully integrated. We are souls arriving to land into this place. We're in the age of, energy. And with that, it's the like kind of unspoken places instead of like, I don't have shelter. I need shelter. It's like, that doesn't feel good. Like my shelter feels in here a little off.
Yeah.
So it's just advanced lessons. And so showing up for them. And I also think we are so connected now that it wasn't really as necessary, but
Yeah.
we're just up in each other's energy all the time.
Yeah, so
So
true.
it is like, wait a second, I need stillness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people pleasing is such a hard one for me, but that makes so much sense. Like with your needs being met, then these patterns can reoccur. Well,
Okay.
like as I mentioned before, your tarot readings are so accurate. You went around the table and every single person was like, what? Like, how could you possibly nail that for every single person? Can you share kind of how tarot works and how you tap into guidance during a session?
Yeah, tarot is one of the freaking coolest things ever.
Mm-hmm.
You should get a tarot deck. You should wait till January to buy mine.
Yeah.
As it comes out again. Actually, you can pre-order probably on Barnes& and Noble. But
Oh, amazing.
yeah, so tarot is just basically the map of consciousness. It's all the archetypes we go through. I'm sitting here and we are in the position of leadership, right? Because people will be listening to this. We also might leave here and someone will be talking to us and we're the position of student. I know each of us have someone in our life that does not like us. So we are the enemies. And then sometimes we are the hero. Does that make sense? So there's all the inevitable
Yeah.
every single human on the planet has to go through. That's where it's like, life is really simple when you start looking at it. Think of every movie, Star Wars, The Notebook. There's a storyline. Art imitates life or whatever it goes. But tarot is just a way to map out consistently what you're up to. And so with that, how does it scientifically work? It has pretty much a pretty wide range of the map of consciousness. And tarot has been around forever. It's like in the first, I think, library in Egypt, there was even like versions of it. It's incredible. So,
Wow.
so it is like the pretty general symbolism of all existence. And so when you pull it, how I teach tarot is you actually think about something and you pull on it, because the moment we think about something, like think about it, like I am thinking about lunch. I will now start, my universe completely switches to lunchtime of like, okay, how am I going to make this work? Does that make sense? So when we actually think about something, we are, it's the phenomenon that you pull exactly what you need. And you don't need a tarot reader. You just can, you can obviously use a guidebook, or, ChatGPT or Google, so it's things that, it's just such a good practice in the morning, because it's our ego gets involved with like, what actually am I thinking? Be like, wait, I trust this. I don't question it. And I move forward.
So you could like just get a tarot deck, think of something, pull a card, and then ask like ChatGPT to like describe what it means.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, what the heck? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's one of those things of like, it's just, it's a good way to, because our ego is going to get involved in anything and like throw us off.
Yeah.
And so it's, and I have like a fun basic tarot class. If anybody, you can like throw these things. If people want to be like, wait, let me just learn the basics, so I'm not fully like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's a really cool practice. It's not as some people are like, oh, that scares me. I'm like, it's actually a very intelligent practice to do, and a habit. You can do it in other ways, but tarot is just like a fun one because there's imagery. And mine, I like made more coffee table style. Like I just love a good aesthetic, and then I love writing, so mine's more just like beautiful mythology in it and like feels, because I'm like just such a like romantic at heart. So you just find a tarot deck that like works for you and then just make it a practice.
Oh, it's so cool. I feel like some people feel like tarot can be just applied to anybody, but no, because my husband and I did one at Semi Tropics, and she did it for me, and it was like 20-30 minutes, and then she did it for my husband, and you could not switch. Like nothing she said about him applied to me and vice versa. So it was so specific. Well, okay, I'm obsessed with like astrology and I know that we're going to be coming. So this episode comes out early June. So what astrological season will we be in then? And then what does that mean for everyone?
We'll be in Gemini. Gemini is more playful. Gemini is more communication. So if I'm going broad, and that's where astrology is so complex. It's like so cool. You're like, where do you want to look at it? But let's just go into like the weather, the energetic weather during that time. It's a time where people basically, and so what you want to be doing now, I guess I won't be seeing this now, but is kind of being like, okay, who's this next version I want to be? So I show up for it. So I speak correctly instead of a yes when I'm feeling a no, or, because basically like energetically, we all come together more, and new people, new places, new basically like experiences start opening up for us to go towards and play with. Does that make sense? So it's one of those things that it's expansive. But if we're kind of not sure who we are, which then it can get a little bit like, wait, everything feels off. Where am I going? So again, it's a good time to be, I go in, it's like breath. I go in and I go out constantly during that time. But yeah, it's usually a lighter energy.
Oh,
it can get a little like going into things like love, or going into like with communications and stuff like that. I always see everything as an opportunity to grow. If you're single and like looking for your love, it might be trickier because it's like people are just kind of testing out what works and what doesn't. So, but again, if something's meant for you, it'll come closer, and I'm going, wait, this does actually land every time. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And then are we in the Scorpio moon still?
So the moon changes every couple of days, and that's just highly recommend getting into, because we have so much water in our body. We are just constantly getting like, we're like the ocean, just getting pulled around. And I'm like, I'm not the same as I was yesterday, by the way. Moving on. The ocean doesn't look the same ever. And so you kind of track those, and I put them on my Instagram and stuff because it does help. And it depends though where, and it's not just your sun sign. That is your inner child. That's the only place that really governs. And so you have your rising, that is like how people probably guess who you are. You have your moon, that is more like your emotion. You have your Venus, how you love. You have, your Neptune. It's like it just is on and on. So it helps kind of understanding, okay, what's my full chart and what's affecting what. But the Scorpio moon is done now, but the full moon, what happens is just there's more space in our bodies, and more things come out. But again, it's like a beautiful process.
Yeah. Wait, that makes so much sense. And also, okay, I have to ask about Mercury in retrograde. Is it something we should be afraid of, or is it something that we can like take advantage of for the energy?
So Mercury retrograde, this is an interesting one. Mercury retrograde is not real. However, so if we were talking 30 years ago, I'd say don't even worry about it. However, we are also, though, so connected, like literally we can be hooked up to EEG machines, and, it's quantum entanglement where you're thinking one thing, you're over there. We're both, our same wires are going off. So now that we are so intertwined, Mercury retrograde is so popularized. Does that make sense? We can make something true. It's not that the planets are doing anything. We have made a new truth. So it does actually affect things now, just like money didn't exist when at some point it didn't, but it is now very real.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. So Mercury retrograde, when it was like, there's nothing happening astrological. It's an optical illusion. But in that, if enough people believe something, it becomes a truth. It's the same thing with politics, the same thing with, just history. It's a fascinating process.
Yeah. Oh my God. Wait, so like, okay. So it's not, if you believe in it.
You do need to worry about it, because now that everybody like exists in that truth, it does actually have not a astrological effect, but a collective conscious effect.
Yeah. So for people who don't know what it is, can you kind of explain, like, I guess, what's been said about it?
Mercury retrograde, I guess, like, allegedly some Mercury goes backwards. It doesn't. I don't know what that means, but that's technically what people were claiming. It doesn't. But what takes place is it's either an excuse to not fix your computer. And it's an excuse to go, what's going on with my phone, and actually troubleshoot. Does that make sense? It's Mercury retrograde, or like, oh, somebody didn't
Yeah.
come, Mercury retrograde. Where I kind of see it as it's there should be nothing ever in life that if you want to go forward, it shouldn't be a bother. So it
Yeah.
just become a larger thing like that. But
That's so funny. I literally thought
technology. But however, like, just troubleshoot go to the Mac store, like
yeah.
go to IT person, and you're like, well, apparently I can get this fixed. It's just kind of excuse time. And that's
Yeah.
fun. But it's kind of like the difference between people who are going forward and making it happen are the people going, I guess I'll get my computer fixed now. Oh, Mercury
Yeah.
retrograde. I guess I'm tapped out for a month.
I hate to admit, I've totally been that person that's like, oh my God, that just happened. Probably it's because Mercury's in retrograde. And I'll look it up and be like, of course it is.
Yeah.
So I've totally been sucked into that. And I'm going to stop doing that. That's so funny.
You're stronger than Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a little salmon swimming upstream. It's like, you got to swim upstream. Yeah.
Well, is there anything coming up in your career that you would like listeners to keep an eye out for? You mentioned your tarot cards. That's in January.
That's in January. It was coming out in the fall, and then tariffs. We had to move everything.
Oh, dang it!
So tariffs. But so that's in January. I'll probably be on a tour though through the fall, which is fun. And again, I know for sure you can at least pre-order on Barnes and Noble. It's already up, so I can shoot that link in there. I have my private community where because my sessions are so expensive, I try to keep things affordable, so anybody can access if they want to go on a spiritual path or have meditation or classes on, how to tap into your past lives. Accessibility, I think, is huge to anybody, especially because it was when I first began in this world, I didn't have the opportunity to, I couldn't afford college. I couldn't afford, so it's how can I, if someone's into this, how can I create a place to have people afford it? So I have affordable spirituality teachings.
Amazing.
And then let's see what else. I don't know what I have going on. It's about to be summer.
You have so many. You're always at so many different events. Do you post when you're going to be at an event on your Instagram?
I do. Yeah. I have something for the Pendry. I wonder if it'll be before or after this. And probably by the time this is out, I have my free community event. The one kind of free thing I do if a brand's not sponsoring it is it's on summer solstice, which would be June 20th. Don't quote me. But I do a meditation on the beach and a beach dip. And it's the coolest it's so fun. And this one's warm, where people just from all walks of life, some people fly in, drive down. It's become this bigger thing where it's just this cool community event of welcoming in together the first sunrise of the season, and actually just practicing ceremony around, I guess, being alive, and the silliness and fun, and it's always just a blast.
How cool. What time is it? So you're there for the sunrise?
It's probably around, don't quote me, but it'll be around 6 a.m. depending on what time sunrise is. And I usually do a report. And everybody just shows up in the dark, sits down in their sweats with a bathing suit under, and we do some breath work. It's just it's a cool community event. It's
that sounds so cool.
I know people become friends through it. People have met dates. I don't know if any worked out, but the cool thing where I'm this is just it's something I used to do by myself. And then one day I put it on Instagram, and it just got bigger and bigger, where I'm now just every season change, whether it's fall, winter, and spring, it's hey, do you want to come meditate? And it's just become this kind of thing of its own, which is really special.
Oh my God, I will be there because when you did the sound bath, you did this envisioning secret. It was amazing. So I will definitely be there to get to do that again. Well, we are coming to the end of our time, but before I let you go, I have 3 final questions for you that we call the Thoughtful 3. So first, what is one belief that you've had to unlearn in order to grow?
One belief I had to unlearn. In no way, shape, or form am I a victim of anything.
Oh, that's a good one.
Responsibility. Past 18 years old in America, because that's the legal age. Past 18, it's nobody's fault except yours.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Out of the contract of whoever even put you, was in charge of you at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. And then next, what's a daily ritual or practice that grounds you no matter where you are in the world?
Meditation.
Mm.
And also my kids, people
Oh,
are like, how do you do this work and stay grounded? I'm like, I have kids. So literally I'm like zzz, with some like A-list celebrity and they're like, make me some mac and cheese. You're like, okay, cool. Anyways, moving on. Uh, yeah, but meditation from a spiritual practice is, even if it's 1 minute of your life, and I have a lot of great meditations if anyone wants to peek at them, but just
yeah.
biologically it changes you, but energetically, you just everything changes. So yeah,
I like that you say just for a minute too.
1 minute.
That's nice because
Yeah,
I thought it would have to be like a long time, but I like the minute.
yeah, and you can think the whole
Um,
time. You don't have to be quiet in your mind. Yeah,
oh, really? Wait, can you talk us say a little bit more about that? Because I always thought like you have to like
I
shut
think
yourself.
that is a practice, but I most of my meditations are active, meaning like where can I transfer these thoughts and rewire? It's like almost like debugging a computer system. So you're thinking that's like again when we did the sound bath, I was talking.
Yeah.
It's on purpose because I'm like, you don't know what you're doing, so I'm going to guide you to the correct place. Yeah,
Wow. Oh, I love that. Do you have those on YouTube or?
I have those all in my community, and probably
Okay.
Instagram has. No, on Instagram I have over 200 of them. So yeah.
Oh, my, okay. Doing
Yeah.
that today. And then lastly, if someone listening feels stuck or disconnected, what's the first step that you would recommend they take?
When you feel stuck, uh, I know it sounds like counterintuitive, but stay there a little longer. Invite it in. Often stuck comes from because we're trying to wiggle out of
Mm,
what is taking place, and we're missing the point. So just stop and say, like, almost just give completely into it, and the
yeah.
answers will start coming.
Oh, I love that. It's like
Yeah,
quicksand, just like,
it is totally like,
yeah, yeah,
quicksand. Yeah, spiritual
yeah. I love.
quicksand, yes.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I had so much fun getting to talk with you, and I hope I get to see you at another event soon.
Definitely, and thank you so much, and I will see you soon.
Awesome.